In less than a month of Air Peace operations on the London route, the airline has not been left without the government support.
Where is the government of Nigeria? Well, I think the story is unfolding very, very positively because there are compelling evidence that eventually the Nigerian government woke up to its task, woke up to its responsibility of supporting one of its own. But initially, that was far from the case. Now, who organizes the table? It is the government. That is the exclusive reserve of the government. And they do that through regulatory environment that they provide, the sort of infrastructure that is in place, and yes, very, very importantly, the quality of bilateral agreements that they sign on behalf of Nigerian companies. I mean, when we look at the new foreign policy, 4D foreign policy strategy of, the current administration, and the passion with which it was churned out, the passion with which the current Minister of Foreign Affairs, defend, that policy, you will see that it covers everything that is needed for Nigeria to be a better representative of the interests of Nigeria globally. We are expecting that Nigerian government will now accelerate the speed of the support that it gives to, Air Peace. They could have gotten more preferential treatment. And yes, preferential treatment for your own is allowed. It's done everywhere. British government, does that for British Airways. Nigeria ought to be able to do that for indigenous airline that is now flying to London, and of course more to come. So this is not something just for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They take care of one aspect, which is negotiating excellent bilateral agreements for the Nigeria aviation industry. But you also have the Ministry of Aviation. You also have the Ministry of Finance that has its own role through fiscal policies and economic policies. Central bank, is on the one hand as well. Foreign currency is equally impacted. So all of these, through their policies, they can do something to facilitate the growth of the aviation industry in Nigeria. And then you talk about, the Ministry of Trade and Investment. They too have very, very important role. And then another very critical ministry that is often forgotten, but they are very much determinant of the success or failure of, the aviation industry of any country, is the Ministry of Tourism. Where is the Ministry of Tourism in Nigeria in all of these narratives? Well, this perhaps throws up the golden opportunity for Nigeria's tourism to be better developed than is the case as of this moment. And so, there has to be a very qualitative interministerial collaboration going forward to ensure that what Air Peace has achieved with the maiden flight is actually sustained, and that indeed more players come into the fold to impact the aviation industry and by extension impacting the Nigerian economy.
Air Peace flies about 160 hours daily in Nigeria. Air Peace has always landed before time in the UK. Every day, Air Peace posts 100% on-time departure in Nigeria, and they ensure that they push out before time. And they have always been landing in the UK on time and before time.
Hello, my name is John Peters. I'm a consultant. I've just finished 2 days in Nigeria. Before I came out, and I fly a lot globally, I was booked onto Air Peace, an airline I didn't know. To be honest, superb. The staff were lovely, the food, the movies, very helpful. I was really impressed, and we arrived 50 minutes early. What's not to like? So I can actually thoroughly, if you haven't heard of them, go fly Air Peace. It's a good airline.
Beyond the Air Peace maiden flight, what happens next? I believe it is critical to approach it from three perspectives or three blocks of stakeholders. Starting with Air Peace, the maiden flight wouldn't have succeeded if, for any reason at all, Air Peace didn't demonstrate preparedness. They showed competence, they showed resilience, and they actually intentionally did what they had to do, did their homework very well, got the best fleet available, ensured that safety and security was of the highest standard, actually surpassing, like we have been told, some of the international flyers. And so on the side of Air Peace, they appear not to be anything to worry about. No stone was left unturned. However, we heard, the chairman, Chief Dr. Onyama, talk to us about the fact that Air Peace continues to strive to improve itself along the lines of international best practice. So there is actually no doubt about their side. Their side appears to be covered. Let's understand one thing. Air Peace is more or less acting like a trigger. Air Peace has made it clear to us from the mouth of the chairman that all of these struggles, all of these fights is not for Air Peace per se. It is also for Nigeria, but also for their competitors, other players who will definitely be interested in coming back in the fold. He said this because he believes that there is enough space for all the players to play in. And so, this is a renewed form of a business model which presupposes that you can collaborate rather than compete. Particularly in the airline industry, we've seen, all of the arrangements, alliances, global alliances of airlines that is taking place. Here in Belgium, for instance, Brussels Airlines is now owned by Lufthansa, but they have left their name. They've kept their names, but they collaborate very, very closely. We know of the alliance between KLM and Air France, whereby they all kept their names. However, they collaborate very, very, in an in-depth manner. So that is the kind of model that, Nigeria should begin to envisage.
A major stakeholder in all of Air Peace operations is the Nigerian diaspora. And so, where is the Nigerian diaspora in this picture?
The majority of the passengers or Nigerians that traveled from Lagos to London are the diasporans. And that is why we are major stake holders on this airpiece. For example, people coming from Canada, people coming from US, going to Nigeria without a direct flight. We fly from our city to a major city, like somebody coming from Tennessee. Somebody coming from Tennessee will fly to Atlanta to Europe somewhere, spend another 8 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours before going to Lagos or Abuja. It's not cheap. A journey of maybe 13 hours, 12 hours will take somebody almost 20-something hours to get to Nigeria. And you are paying dearly for this.
By their very nature, diaspora Nigerians are internationalists. They are scattered all over the world. That's a very, very large market for airpiece on its own. But on the other hand, I believe that the diaspora, more than anyone else, could be an important facilitator of new routes. I will give one example. I was recently in a conversation with the chairman of NIDO, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization in Brazil, who actually told me that there used to be a direct flight from Sao Paulo, one of the major cities there, I believe it's Sao Paulo, yes, and Lagos, direct flight that took less than 10 hours. At the moment, because there is no direct flight, they have to do some sort of global rigmarole flying from Brazil to Nigeria that takes 23 good hours. Now, we are talking of Nigerian diaspora that are facilitators in all sorts of businesses and, trade and so on and so forth in Brazil. And I do not see why the Nigerian government on the one hand and, airpiece on the other could link up together, get this Nigerian diaspora in Brazil to facilitate, direct flight between Brazil and Nigeria. Don't forget the cultural link between the two countries. There are, groups of Nigerians, that were taken as slaves from Nigeria to Brazil and have maintained the Nigerian culture there. So there is a cultural link, but also very, very importantly, more than culture, business, is thriving between Nigeria and, Brazil, but could even be more when there is, direct flight. So, this example could be replicated in different parts of the world, and it is the role of the diaspora, when supported, to actually make this happen in a major way.
The European market is very massive. What are the options available for airpiece in terms of partnership agreement with other airlines?
This is somehow the first stage of the long-awaited expansion of airpiece into Europe, and now the second phase should be embarked upon. I think airpiece is definitely aware of that. The second phase is how airpiece will now establish itself in continental Europe, since it wouldn't be easy for the numerous Nigerian diasporans resident in continental Europe to travel to London from wherever they are to catch airpiece flights to Nigeria. This can be done by obtaining flight slots for airpiece in, let's say, 2 or 3 different European countries with airports that are international flight hubs. Countries like France, Germany, and the Netherlands. I'm looking at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, France, Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and the Frankfurt Airport in Germany. Now, if such slots can be procured, then it becomes easy for Airpeace to sign bilateral service agreements with smaller airlines that operate locally within continental Europe that can help to bring Nigerians from different locations in continental Europe on local flights, local intra-European flights that converge towards these three airports that I have just mentioned. So the Nigerians can then be transferred to Airpeace flights from those airports. Of course, well, this is not something that can be done in one day. Rome was not built in one day. So what one can suggest to Airpeace is that let one of the three airports be the starting point. Something like the Charles de Gaulle Airport, which is very much used by people from Europe, traveling from Europe, people traveling even from America, like to stop over in Charles de Gaulle Airport in Europe to connect to other African destinations, or going from Africa to the USA or other countries in Europe, like to pass through Charles de Gaulle Airport. But of course, this is a role that Frankfurt Airport or Schiphol Airport can also play. That is something for Airpeace to study and analyze commercially and take a decision as to where they are going to start from. But if the decision is to start from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, then we have a scenario whereby Nigerians coming from faraway places, even as Oslo, as Copenhagen in Denmark, as Amsterdam itself, or even German cities, etc., would now pass through Charles de Gaulle Airport to connect to Airpeace going to Nigeria.
This is a call on Nigerians in the diaspora to patronize their own, a Nigerian carrier, a brand that stands out, Airpeace, as this is one of the ways to stimulate their economy.
There are a whole lot of economic benefits. And for us in diaspora, the only thing we owe Dr. Allen Onyema is for us to patronize him. To patronize him, because we have been suffering for years on this. And at the same time, we have to see how we can stimulate our economy. Stimulate our economy. This time that the nation is going through surgery. In fact, in intensive care unit, we have to do all we can to save Airpeace. We should not allow the foreign airlines to strangle our own, to strangle our pride. Dr. A.O. said he's going to do something different, and he's doing it. He's doing it. Let us come together to support him and to continue to patronize him. I think that is the least we can do to save Airpeace, save the nation, and fly Airpeace. This is a historic moment, like I said before, that we haven't seen. We are proud of him. We can't wait for him to come to our annual general meeting that we have every year in North America, where we can appreciate him, where we can recognize him, where we can thank him for the courage And at the same time, we are still pleading for the government to see how they can still help airpeace, support airpeace. All these foreign airlines are being supported by their countries, by their government. So we need to encourage Alan for this bold step he has taken.
Another way that the diaspora could be of relevance to, the aviation industry working collaboratively with government is giving visibility through their activities, their events to airpeace as the only one now, flying this route. They could do that. Nigerians in the UK, they organize events all over the place. I mean, get the place, pasted all over the place, the roll-up banners and all of that of airpeace. And I'm sure airpeace, could devote a part of, their marketing funds, to supporting these events, because branding is very, very important. And equally important is also that the Nigerian diaspora, both in their own interests and in the interests of airpeace, that they are clients, that they patronize airpeace. I believe it's a very, very lucrative market. Addressing the issue of, favoritism. Well, let's be clear about the fact that in foreign policy, in diplomacy, it is all about national interest. And if your national interest means that you have to act in favor, giving a better deal for your indigenous companies over, foreign companies, it is perfectly normal. It is done everywhere. British Airways does that and others do that as well. Nothing stops Nigeria from carving out a good deal for airpeace in the airport in Nigeria, so that check-in and all of that will be seamless. I believe that some of these will go very, very far in making airpeace succeed, rather than dying the untimely death that those airlines before airpeace had died. Those are try to run the Lagos London route. I believe that all of these interministerial collaboration taking place will indeed make a huge difference.
Join us in the next episode of Global Light, plus our segments in light of global issues.